Welcome to She Sells Radio. I am super excited to bring you a new friend and a super connector today on the show who's going to talk to you about how to network, how to stand out from the crowd, and how do you build resilience in your career and your finances, whether you're in corporate or an entrepreneur. So, Trevor Houston is on the show with me today. I got introduced to him by a mutual friend, Amberly Lago, who's also been on the show. And she said, "You've got to meet Trevor. You've got to connect with him." And I have been so impressed researching this man to bring him to you. He has built a huge media presence as the host of the Who You Know show and has interviewed people like Grant and Elena Cardone, Tim Story, Heather Monahan, who's been on our show as well. He's also the CEO of ClearPath Wealth Strategies and has been recognized as a top 50 entrepreneur to watch, according to Grit Daily. And as I was thinking about what I wanted to talk with Trevor about today, there's a phrase that I've seen come true in my life over and over again, which is that grace opens doors that hard work never could. And I think
Mhm.
about the moments, the biggest moments of my career and of my life, and those moments that felt like pure grace, where something came together or an opportunity happened that like I never could have just worked for. And it was always based on that grace. But that grace was often spawned by some sort of a connection I had, someone I knew who helped me, who opened a door, who introduced me in a way that felt like serendipity.
Mm.
And so the power of connections, the power of building your brand, the power of resilience is so critical. Again, whether you're in corporate America, whether you're running your own business. And Trevor's going to help us dive deeper into those areas today. So, Trevor, thank you for being here. Welcome to She Sells Radio.
I'm so excited. Thank you for having me. This is awesome.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. No, I'm really pumped. And what I want to speak to both our listeners today who are entrepreneurs as well as in corporate, and give them some really good tangible tips they can use to build their career and build their network and their
Mhm.
brand. So I know you've got a ton of experience and expertise in doing that. But I think what I'd love to start with is just I can tell how lit up you are about helping people build resilience and create that both in their finances and in their careers. And I know usually that starts with some sort of a personal experience or background. So can you tell us what in your life got you so lit up about this and spawned you to do the work that you're doing today?
Oh my goodness. So when you were just talking about earlier the grace
Mm,
and the connection, right? Like it just brought up a memory for me. So I had made a transition from the automotive industry where I was a top producer and I was really doing very well. Um, Corporate politics and things like that kind of pushed me out, even though I
mm,
was their top producer there and was very successful. Um, so I ended up making a transition into financial services. When I did that, I went from being the best to like not knowing what the heck I was doing and hitting the bottom and just really going through a lot, worrying about like being a failure, losing everything, like, you know, I didn't get paid a salary or anything like that. So if I'm not, producing, I'm not eating. And so I'm watching my bankroll go backwards and I'm just in fear. This was my first
mm,
year and I was just totally paralyzed by fear. Um and I remember doing some networking, old school networking where it was like coffee meetings, right? I don't know if you still do that, but like, hey, let's go grab coffee, that kind of a deal.
yeah.
And so I meet this guy and we sit down and he's, asking me what I do and I'm asking him what he does and we're just kind of chatting, right? And I tell him, I'm in financial services and I do investments and 401k rollovers and things like that. And when I said rollovers, he said, hey, there's a group you need to go check out, this group of job seekers.
Mm,
And I was like, yeah, that sounds right. That's spot on. And the next thing you know, he starts praying over me.
mm.
And when I say he's praying over me, this was like some bold, uh, like he was speaking in tongues and laying
Wow.
hands on me and all
Ooh.
kinds of like it was. So it was powerful. And I received, I was like,
Yeah.
let's go. Cause I was at a point where I was just kind of at a desperate point. And, and I've always been a faithful person. And, but it was a powerful, powerful experience.
Mm,
And, I was on an assignment at that point. And
mm,
I went to this group and I saw this group of job seekers. It was a job networking group. And I walked in and I could see the same desperation and
mm.
the same like anxiety and stress that I was going through. I could see it and feel it on them. And I knew I had to help. I had to do something to help these people. And I just felt led to give back and serve that group. And I
Mm.
haven't left since. And so yeah, when you were talking about that grace and that connection, like it just reminded me of that moment.
Wow. Wow. Oh my gosh. Some kind of coffee meeting that you
Yeah.
weren't expecting, right?
No.
That's amazing though. And I think it is so true, right? And I think anyone listening can look back on our lives and think to like the best things that happened or those moments where we felt like we were in the pits of despair or imminent doom or failure. And I've certainly had my fair share of those as well. And then something happens and it's unexpected and it's through the power of a connection usually
Mm,
where you're catapulted to where you're supposed to be,
mm,
and having that faith to go through those moments and to keep moving forward is what's critical, right? But um I love that. That's so powerful. I want to ask you about one other thing before we dive into some more tangible tips. So I know you have an upcoming book, Chains to Freedom,
yes.
and I I thought the title was a really powerful title. And if we want more abundance, which most of our listeners and certainly my clients and our community members want, at its core, what we're really seeking is freedom, right? Like
Mm,
money just sitting there on a pile of paper, not doing anything for us, right? It's really that energy of freedom in our lives that we're seeking. And so the title of Chains to Freedom really resonated with me, and I thought it would resonate with our audience as well. So I'd love if you could share just a little bit more about that core message
mm,
of that book. And I know it probably could be the whole interview in and of itself. We won't make it, but anything that you would say about how
yeah.
we can cultivate more freedom in our lives?
Yeah. Well, so the title is also a literal title because as a juvenile, as like if you go back when I was a teenager, I got in a lot of trouble. I was in those
Mm,
chains, like
mm,
literal chains. I was in and out of juvenile and getting in a lot of trouble.
yeah.
And the courts actually forced me to move with my father because where I was with my mother, the environment was just not good, and
Mm,
so I was getting in a lot of trouble, and so I had to transform my life. And the book is really about the steps on it takes
mm,
to make a transformation.
yeah.
And this can really be in any area of your life. It doesn't have to just be like, oh, I need to transform from being a criminal.
Sure. Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be just about that. Like, if you want to change your life in any shape or form, these steps can help you.
Mm,
And the first step is really about making a decision. You've gotta, you've gotta want it. Enough's enough. You've gotta kind of draw that line in the sand and make a commitment, make a decision.
mm,
And my decision actually wasn't, well, I say it wasn't my decision. The courts, um, they gave me a decision. They said, Trevor, you
mhm.
either move to your father's, get out in the environment, or you're going back to jail until you're 21 years old. And I was
Wow. How
16.
old were you? Oh, 16. Okay. Wow. Yeah.
So I'm like,
Yeah.
that was an easy decision, I guess,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
But it was a decision. Um,
Mm,
and sometimes the decisions we make, they don't have to be hard. They can be
sure.
easy decisions. That was an easy one for me, but it was
Mm,
still hard to leave my friends and leave everything that I was used to, and that
Yeah.
lifestyle and the clothes I was wearing and the school I was
Mm.
going to. I had to completely transform.
Right.
And one of the other things that saved my life was work.
Mm.
My father, when he got a hold of me, he put in work on me, and he showed me how to have a strong work ethic. And
Yeah.
I remember going on the job site with him. He was a painter. And so we would go early in the morning, that rise and grind, we'd get up,
Mm.
get on the job site, and take something that was ugly and transforming it into something beautiful. And that sense of pride at the end of the day, that accomplishment, like I did this,
Yeah.
that hard work, working with your hands. Um, so my father taught me how to do that. And that was another thing that saved my life, because as I mentioned earlier, when I got in the auto industry, I found something finally that I was good at. And my
Mm.
whole life, everybody told me I was a screw up and I was never going to amount to anything and all kinds of stuff. And so I finally found something I was good at that I poured myself into, and I had a positive obsession to channel my energy.
Mm.
Because I have a lot of energy, and they tried to put me on
Mhm.
all this medication and all this kind of stuff.
Mm.
And it really, I just needed a place to put it,
Yes. Yep. Mhm.
that was
Mhm.
positive.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if I don't have a positive place, it's going to go
Sure.
somewhere else. And so I was getting in trouble and all that. But yeah, I mean, there's several steps in that book on how to change your life. But those are just a couple of them, finding a
Mm.
place that you can put your energy, you know.
Mm. Yeah.
Connection is part of it, networking is part of it,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? The people you associate with,
Yes.
right? The people that are in your circle,
Yeah. Wow. I
right?
which we'll speak about in a moment, which is really, really powerful. And I want to go a little deeper into what you
Okay.
just shared there. It resonates because I think everyone in our community, when I think about our clients and even, women, men who are listening who aren't necessarily clients, but I know by nature of them being here, um, they have overcome some sort of a major life circumstance challenge. And there's story after story after story of just the people I know in our community, people who overcame, abuse,
Mm,
poverty, all sorts of scenarios. And so I appreciate you sharing some of your background there, because someone might not know, looking at you and looking at the brand you've built and the company you've built and the people you're interviewing and associating with, like, wow, it came from this, right? I was just speaking this past weekend at one of my clients' masterminds, and he was sharing kind of his own personal journey through similar struggles. And things where you would look at him now and you'd be like, oh, there's no way you went through that stuff. But he alchemized the challenges and turned them into the fuel
mm,
that has propelled his success. And I heard that when you were speaking there. It was interesting when you talked about painting the homes and turning something that was ugly into something beautiful. It was like, yeah,
mm,
that's alchemy, right?
mm,
And I think everyone can have their own perspective on this. My personal belief, and I don't tell anyone what to believe, my personal belief is I think we choose the life circumstances we come into, and we choose our parents because we have lessons to learn and things to learn. And we
mm,
can either get, I think we can either get stuck in victim mode, being a victim of our environment and our circumstances, or we can harness it and use all of that shit, for lack of better words. I curse occasionally on the show. Like, we can use all of that to propel us into our purpose and our mission
mm,
and what we're meant to be doing. So I think the other thing I'd like to ask you about from that is, if someone's listening and they're still stuck in victim mindset, maybe they
mm,
came from similar upbringing, maybe something else, but they're still saying, well, I can't do what I want to do because of this. I can't do what I want to do because I've got a record. I've got these circumstances. I don't have the money. My parents did this or that to me. What needs to shift in their thinking so
mm.
that they can actually harness the gift out of that and alchemize that into their good?
That's so good. Oh my gosh, so much to unpack there. Accountability.
Mm,
Man, let me tell you something. Accountability is one of the chapters in the book.
okay.
Yeah, victim mentality is a plague. It's a
Yeah.
cancer.
Yeah.
Okay. And I had it.
Mm,
Okay. I had that where it was everybody else's fault. It was never my fault. You can't tell me nothing. Right. Like, and that's what a big part of why I was getting in so much trouble,
yeah.
is because people, I didn't listen to authority. I didn't listen. I didn't respect because people would try to tell me stuff. And it's like, no, you don't know what's going on. It was everybody else's fault.
Mm,
And it wasn't until I started taking accountability for my own actions, because listen, I was the only constant in every situation,
yeah.
right? It's my
Yeah.
life. And I have to be responsible for it. I have to be accountable for my actions. Even when there are external circumstances that affect you, that may be out of your control. Maybe you are victimized. I was victimized. There were things that were going on, but guess what? I was still in this situation.
Mm,
Why was I in those situations, right? Why did
yeah.
you see what I'm saying? Like, you have to go, okay, what could I have done?
Yes.
What could I have changed? What could I have said differently? How could I have acted differently? Right? Because
Yes. Mm,
ultimately, that's all you can control is
mm,
you.
yeah.
You can't control the other people. You can't control the other circumstances. Um, so yeah, accountability is so, so, so important. And
Mm,
I feel like our society, we're so we just want to throw stones. Social
mm,
media and everything. Like, I mean, that's why you see all these trolls and you see all
yeah.
this stuff and cancel culture and like nobody wants to take accountability. It's like the Pharisees in the Bible. They just want to throw stones, man.
Mm, mm-hmm.
And it's
Mm-hmm.
because maybe deep down we understand that, like, there's some there's some healing that needs to happen on the inside.
Yeah.
But our society, they don't want to take accountability for anything. And you
Mm,
know what? It's also another thing that's so interesting is, like, when someone does online, like, let's say someone's online and they're trying to own up for something,
yeah.
like, good for them. Don't throw stones at them.
Yeah.
You just trained them. If you do that, if you just start bashing them, you just trained them. I'm never gonna do that again.
Mm,
You see what I'm
mm-hmm.
saying?
Mm-hmm.
And we
It's
see that in our culture. We see it when you look on our phone. Everybody's getting attacked and cancel culture and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, no, how about let's celebrate when somebody
yes.
actually owns their stuff and says, you know what? I'm really messed up.
Yeah.
I made a mistake, right? How
Mm,
about let's celebrate
absolutely.
that, not attack them?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we're just training everyone else to never take accountability for anything, if that's the case.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
It makes total I mean, it's the crabs in a bucket, right?
Yeah.
Which if someone's not familiar, there's a bunch of crabs that have just been caught from the ocean and they're about to be um cooked, right? They're in the bucket. One tries to get out, the other ones will literally pull it back down to be in the bucket with them. And so, yes, to everything you just said, I've experienced my own version of that, my own journey of getting to learn how to not how do I say it? How to not care too much about what people say.
Mm,
And it's challenging. I mean, it's in our nature, right? It's like our safety, our protection mechanism. We want to be accepted by the tribe. But I
mm,
think for anyone who has a calling on their life and who has something great that they're meant to bring forth, which I think all of us do, it's a matter of whether we're going to opt into that in this lifetime or not. We have to care more about what do I think about me than what everyone else is saying. And it's when you were talking before, it reminded me of a conversation I was having earlier this morning with a new client, just kind of this wake up moment that I think we all get to have in our lives. And it feels like the Matrix. It really does. But when you look around and you realize you are the only one who's going to give you permission to make a change. Like we can sit back and say, well, I'll do it when, right? I'll launch the
mm,
business when I know that I'm good enough. I'll go for the job promotion when someone tells me that I'm good enough or it's time. I'll do this when I have the resources, when I have that. And we can like literally put our whole life on layaway, making excuses as to why
mm,
we can't move forward and take action on something. And I spent much of my life like that, looking at other people doing what I wanted to do, having the lives I wanted to have, having the life I wanted to have, speaking on the stages I wanted to speak on, and making excuses as to why I couldn't. And it wasn't until I kind of woke up and said, "Oh my gosh, like no one's coming to tell me it's time. No one's coming to give me permission. No one's coming to tell me I'm good enough." Right?
Mm,
Like giving power away to everyone else in a different way, but similar
no
way.
one's gonna
And
rescue you.
no one's gonna rescue you.
Nope.
You're the one you've been waiting for the whole time. Again, the Matrix, but true. So
No, that's so good. Like, um, it's so good. Yeah, you're right. Nobody is going to come swoop in like Superman and come save the day and
Right,
transform your life. You are the one that
right.
has to do it. No one is going to do it for you. And so that's
Yeah.
accountability. That right there.
Yes.
It's like you have to do it. No one will do it for you. No one cares that much about you. Let's just be honest. I mean, the
Yeah.
world's busy. I mean, maybe your spouse, but even them, they're responsible for them,
Themselves. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Exactly.
And you're
Exactly.
responsible for you, and only you can do it.
Yep.
So quit blaming everyone else
Ooh.
because it's irrelevant. Stop blaming the rest of the world for your problems.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, and just pull yourself up and get to it, you know?
Mm.
And I'll give you
Amen.
another example. Like you were talking about taking something ugly and making it beautiful. I
Mm.
remember growing up, I didn't have we had black mold in our house, and so they had to
Mm.
gut the house and they had to take all the like the sheetrock out and all of the carpet out, and all of our belongings got thrown away because it was all
Wow.
contaminated.
Mm.
And I don't know what my mom did, God bless her heart, with that insurance money, but the house never got put back together. So I was growing up with like no, like missing walls and like no carpet, and
Wow.
I didn't have a bed.
Mm.
And so I remember taking this bookshelf, and I laid this bookshelf on the ground, and I removed all the shelves out of it. So it was just a big box.
Mm.
And I put all this like clothes and anything soft I could find into this bookshelf, and I threw a futon mattress on top of it.
Mm.
And that was my bed.
Wow.
But like, I don't know, again, taking something ugly and transforming it into
Sure.
something beautiful, I put Christmas lights around that bed.
Mm.
And so I'm gonna tell you, I had the best looking bookshelf bed you ever saw. It was like it was awesome, you know, and it was
Oh.
actually really comfortable. I'm not even gonna lie.
Maybe you'll invent an industry.
The
That would be
bookshelf
alchemy
bed.
right there.
Exactly. But it's like, hey,
Ah,
you gotta work with
yeah,
what you got.
absolutely.
What do you have? What's in your hand? And that's another thing. It's like people often you want with victim mentality. It's what you don't have,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
And you can't work with what you don't have.
Yes.
But
So true.
accountability is, what do you have? What's in your hand? What can I work with? Give me what
Mm,
you got. You know
yes.
what I'm saying? And let
Yes.
me see what I can work with here. What can I create? Um,
Mm,
like I think about the story in the Bible where Jesus fed the 5,000,
yeah.
and they were like, "Hey, too many people out here. We
Yep.
can't feed everybody." He said, "What do you got?" "We
Mm,
got a couple fish, I got a couple loaves of bread." He said, "Bring it to me."
yeah.
What do you
Yeah.
got? Right? What's in your hands? What do you have? What can I work with?
Mm,
And so that's like, instead of looking at situations with, what's missing,
mm,
what you don't have, it's like, what do you have? What can we work with here? So anyways, that's
yes.
accountability.
Ooh, that's so good. I'm in church over here, like,
Hmm. What do you got?
bless it, bless and multiply. That's it. We
That's
talk about
right.
that all the time in our community. And that's that shift from it's a shift from lack to abundance too, when you realize that by law, by spiritual law, you have to have everything that you need to get to your next level right now. You already have it. So
Mm,
what do you have? I love that. And that bless and multiply energy, you take that, you apply it to your finances, your connections, your whatever you got, right? You make the bookshelf bed out of it. I love that. People are going to remember that. That's a powerful story.
yes.
Let's speak to Let's speak to some of the logistical ways that people can apply this to their career, right?
Mm,
So if someone's listening and they're in corporate and they want to grow in their career, maybe they want a new job, maybe they want to get a better promotion at work. And maybe they are noticing, wow, I've had some of that victim mentality where I've said, I can't do it because of this, because of layoffs, this person
mm.
above me, blah, blah, blah. What would you say, maybe just top 1 to 2 things that someone should know in corporate America today about advancing their career and what they need to do given current climate of everything? What would be your best advice to someone?
First of all, understand that especially in corporate America, relationships are everything.
Mm,
Well, it's in life in general, not just
yeah,
corporate America. It's
yeah.
life, right? Relationships are everything. And so oftentimes if you're unhappy in your work environment, I see people try to put their head down, try to just get through the day. They're not they're not building relationships. They're not connecting. They're not you know, they're just trying to get through the day.
Mm,
And it's like that's the wrong approach. Um I remember my first case of who you know. Well, I remember when it happened. It was when I was in the auto industry and I wanted to move up. And I was being overlooked for opportunities. Even though I was their top producer, I was doing really, really well. Uh, on paper, I deserved it. I deserved that opportunity. However, there were others that were rubbing elbows
mm,
with the higher ups, right? They were building those relationships behind the scenes. They had previous relationships with the management and things like that. So when it came time for that promotion, they got it, even though they weren't as qualified as I was.
mm,
I was the top producer. I was number one. Why did they get it? Why did number five get the job over number one?
mm,
How does that happen?
yeah.
Relationships, right? And that was the first taste of that. And I was like, oh man. And it stings when it happens,
Yeah.
right? It stings when it happens. So my advice or recommendation in this case would be don't just put your head down, don't ignore the relationships, figure out how you can network. And to me, what networking is simply figuring out how you can serve the other person.
Mm,
How can you make their life easier, smoother? How can you put a smile on their face? How can you add energy into their life? What can you do to make the other person's life better?
yeah.
And it could be little things, it could be big things. It could be maybe you're just connecting them with the other resources that they need in their life. Maybe you're just a connector. But whatever the case may be, think about how you can make their life easier. And that's what networking is. And the law of reciprocity says it will come back to you,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So if you're in corporate America, again, look at your boss, look at your management, and you might not like them. That's
Mm,
okay. How can you make
mm-hmm.
their life easier?
Yes.
And it'll come back around and doors will open up for you.
Wow. I love what you just shared there, Trevor, because people will often ask, on coaching calls, like, hey, I'm in a role I don't like. I want to either go out and start my own company and I feel maybe disenchanted. I feel burnt out. I feel exhausted. I don't even want to show up at work, or I want to move into a different type of role, but I'm not happy at work right now. And so what we talk about there is leveraging. It's what you just shared, just a different phrase, impression of increase, which is from The Science of Getting Rich. If someone hasn't read that chapter in that book, which is about how can you show up in the energy that you expect to be when you are where
Mm,
you want to be, and how can you do that now in
mm,
your current role? And from what you said, how can you help your current boss? How can you give? How can you serve more? Bring that energy. And it's actually by the very nature of you bringing that energy, it'll propel you forward faster to where you want to be. But what we resist persists. So if we're in resistance to where we are and we're not showing up, we're not giving our best, we're not helping, we're not networking, we're not serving, then we're actually going to stay stuck longer. So,
and it's
um,
got to be genuine too.
true.
It's
So
got to be
true. Thank you for saying
genuine
that.
because
Yes.
we've all know the brown
Yeah.
noser.
Yes.
right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And you can just tell it's not genuine,
Yeah,
right? And they may
absolutely.
still get ahead. They may still get ahead because brown
Yeah.
nosers know how to get ahead. They may still get ahead because they're still making the boss life easier, right?
Right, right. But ultimately, it's coming from a place of insecurity,
Correct.
which is, I think, I love that you brought up, it's got to be genuine. And
Mm-hmm.
I think do it for you. Do it because you want to feel better while you're there. Do it because you want to see how good you can be. Do it because you want to
100%.
bring that energy, right? And be a match for where you want to be. And so when we do it from that place, it can be more genuine.
And be the CEO of you, meaning
Yes.
if
Oh
you're
my
in
gosh.
corporate America,
Yes.
like go in there like you own the place.
Yes.
Okay. If this was your business, how would you operate? Right. And like I think about that again when I was in the auto industry. Again, I was on paper most qualified for those opportunities. But there were reasons. There were things that like I think about it. If I would have went in there like I owned the place, meaning like operated at that high level,
Mm,
there would have been no stopping me for
yeah.
sure.
Yes. Yeah.
And again, accountability. Like as much as I want to say that there were some other toxic things, there was a lot of external circumstances going on in that work environment. I'm going to tell you that right now. There was a lot of things. Again, if I want to have victim mentality, I could just point and point
Mm.
and point and point and say
Mhm.
this was why and this was why and this was why, and I have to stop and say, you know what? You know what? I was actually super aggressive.
Yeah.
That's why I was the top sales guy because I was super aggressive. I was a little arrogant.
Mm.
Okay. Because I was number one, I kind of
Yep.
pounded my chest a little bit, a little
Yeah.
arrogance. Okay. I wasn't maybe humble. Right. What could
Mhm.
I have done differently? Right. So
Yes.
maybe I wasn't ready.
Yeah.
Maybe I needed to leave and hit the bottom to humble me to now say, oh, wow, this is what it takes to really be on top, you know?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
again, accountability.
Mm. Yes.
I could they could have gave me the opportunity. I still think they should have. I'll be honest with you. I still think they should have because I had proven myself with the numbers. Like, give me the opportunity to fail,
Mm.
right? But again, I have to take accountability for what I
Yes.
had in the case where why I didn't get those promotions, why I didn't move up. But
Yeah.
ultimately, all of that, as I go into all of that was being done for me, not to
Yes,
me,
exactly. Exactly. That is
right?
also grace, right? It's like by grace you
100%.
didn't get the promotion. By grace you had to go start doing because none
So
of this would
grateful.
be in place, right? That's
Thank God for
exactly it.
unanswered prayers, right?
Yes. Oh my
Because
gosh, absolutely.
God knows better. He's like, no, no, you know what? Actually, and then I think about this too. If you're going through a season right now, remember that sometimes God will make you really uncomfortable
Mm.
so that you will take a leap of faith. And here's what I mean by that.
Mhm.
So, if you think about the eagles, right? The eagles and the eaglets, the eagles will have their nest and it'll be nice and cozy and comfortable and warm. And they'll feed the eaglets to a point where they will start then pulling out all of the comfort, all the soft, all the feathers. They'll start removing all of that. And underneath
Yes.
all of that is a bunch of thorns and spikes and sticks. It's uncomfortable. And then they even stop feeding the eaglets
Mm.
to a point where it gets so uncomfortable that they jump,
Wow.
right? And
Mm.
fly,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
And so sometimes God does that. Sometimes God will make things so uncomfortable for you because otherwise you would just stay. And
Yes.
you're meant to fly.
Mhm.
You're meant to soar with eagles, but you're just going to stay in this nest and you're never going to leave because it's so comfortable,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. That's
So
exactly
that's
it.
what was happening with me. It got really uncomfortable there, and I eventually left,
Mm. That's
you know?
yeah. That's it. It's absolutely it. It's so funny. I love that analogy. I actually hadn't heard that about the eagles and the eaglets. So that's powerful. Even just this morning, I was working out and I do a workout app, and the trainer on it, it was strength training. And she talked about how we build strength in the negative movement. So she was like,
Mm,
really like hold the weight as you go down in the negative. That's when we build strength. And I thought, man, that's a good analogy for life.
mm,
So if someone's listening to your point and they're going through a season and they're disenchanted with their work or their job, or maybe they're an entrepreneur and they're coming off of some of the roughest months of their business and they're wondering, can I do it? Am I meant to stop? Am I meant to close up shop? It's what strength is being developed, what gifts are being cultivated, what
mm,
leap do I need to make that I've been hesitating on, that finally, like I can't ignore anymore. I can't avoid
mm.
anymore. And this has brought it to light.
So
So
good.
yeah, I so resonate with everything you just shared. I feel like we could talk for hours. So I'm trying to be mindful of time. I love this. Let's speak to our entrepreneurs
Okay.
briefly. And I think something that you've done really, really well looking at your brand and what you've done is you've, you found a way to stand out from the crowd in a very potentially commoditized marketplace, right? And so every entrepreneur who's listening to this, and frankly, I think we should be thinking about this if someone's in corporate America too, but they're thinking about how can I attract more clients, right? How can I stand out from everyone else doing what I'm doing, whether maybe they're a financial advisor, they're a coach, a consultant, a service provider. If you could just give maybe one tip that you think has helped you really stand out from the crowd in your space that
Mm.
someone could take and apply, what would you say that is?
So I call it the 7 C's to cash flow.
Oh,
The
okay.
seven
I
C's to
like it.
cash flow, and
Yeah.
it's consistent content creates conversations that convert into careers and cash flow,
Oh, I love that.
right?
Okay.
And
Hmm.
so consistency is number one.
Yeah.
And I'll be just transparent with you. I wish we didn't have to do it in this day and age. I wish you
Yeah.
didn't have to be putting yourself out there on content, consistently on a daily basis and putting all this stuff. I
Sure.
honestly, I wish you could do business in today's day and age without all of that, but you just
Yeah.
kind of have to. Like if you're an
Yeah.
entrepreneur, like get ready, you're the brand.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's not a logo that they're buying, it's you that they're buying. Right. And so
Mm.
if you're not out there consistently putting your message out there,
Yeah.
your competition is,
Yes.
right? And so you're losing if you're not doing that. So um again, I wish we didn't have to do that,
Yeah.
right? Gary Vee created a whole bunch of monsters out here, and now we're all just having to put ourselves out there. But it is what it is, okay?
Yeah.
You have to. So if you're an entrepreneur and you're not online consistently speaking your message and putting your, what you're trying to accomplish out there, you're losing, you're missing out. Um, and ultimately, again, the content, it's consistent content converts into conversations, right? We
Mm.
need to convert those eyeballs into actual conversations, that convert into careers and cash flow. So this is also for you job seekers out there, anybody
Mm.
looking to
Yep.
level up their career. It's the same thing. Um, But yeah, that's what I would say that has been a differentiator, but it's getting even saturated now. I mean, everybody's jumping in. The content game is getting easier and easier and easier with AI and all this stuff,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right? Um, like what is it going to be 10 years from now to stand out?
Mm.
You
Yes.
know,
Yeah.
like that's what you got to be thinking about. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
how do we stand out in a saturated market? In the podcast space, the podcast space is you know, getting
Mm-hmm.
saturated, right? How do
Mm-hmm.
you stand out?
Mm.
Um, the definition of a standout is to do what other people aren't willing to do.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. There's a little tool um, that I use consistently online that really makes a big impact.
Hmm.
And it's a little tool called Bomb Bomb. Have
Oh, I love Bomb Bomb.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
yep.
I love it. But please, because someone may not be familiar with it.
So Bomb Bomb is a video communications tool.
Yeah.
And so you're able to make these little short videos.
Mhm.
I think of them like a voicemail. Okay.
Yeah.
So if Elise, if I was to leave you a voicemail, right, what would I say in that voicemail? Well, what I would do instead is I'm going to do it on a video. and I'm
Mhm.
gonna have your name written
Oh,
on
I love that. Look at you. Go watch the video of this if you're just listening to the
yeah,
audio.
watch the
It's
video if
cool.
you're
Yeah.
tuning in. Okay. And so I have this whiteboard and I have her name written on the
Yep.
whiteboard. Okay. And what I do is I'll flash it at the camera like this.
Mhm.
So it's my face and
Yep.
your name.
I
And
love that.
what BombBomb does is it has a GIF that loops the first 3 seconds of the video.
Mhm.
So you just see your face or my face, your name, right?
Yep.
You just see that. Boom.
Yep.
And you can leave these in any place that you can type, you can leave it. So
Yeah.
DMs, okay. Great for DMs. Comments. This is a powerful
Mm.
one. Super powerful. How many times have you got a post that has a whole bunch of comments on it, right?
Yeah.
But imagine out of all that black and white text, you get one of these.
Ah, love it.
Boom.
Yeah.
Like you will stand out from the crowd, guaranteed.
Hmm.
They will press play on your
Yeah.
video, and now you got their attention. So this is a
Mm.
great way to get the attention of busy people. This is a great way to get the attention of influencers or people that normally have gatekeepers,
Right.
right? Um, so yeah, video comments, super powerful.
Mm.
Video DMs, emails, right?
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
just better in person. And we've had all of this technology these days
Mm.
with black and white text, chat bots, and
Right.
trying to remove the human element and put robots in place, right?
Mm.
So how do we separate? How do we stand out? Well, let's put the human element back in. Let's put the human
Yes.
back in the game. And so it's kind of a superpower. I'm going to tell you, it's so impactful.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love this so much. I'm doing a training later this afternoon for a group of advisors on how to build their brand. And it's like if people just knew to do things like what you're doing, right? And how to stand out. It's little stuff like that. But I love the human element, right? And leveraging how can I be different? I hadn't even thought about honestly, I don't think I thought about video comments. That's
Video
brilliant.
comments. Like
Yeah, that's
imagine a
brilliant.
guy like Gary V. Okay.
Mm,
So his comment section. It
right.
gets blown up, right? His comment
Yes.
section gets blown up. But if you're the only one doing this with his name on it, right?
Yes.
And I'll say Gary, and what happens is you actually become top comment because
Mm.
everyone else that typed on it, they see it and then they like your comment. So
Ah,
you end up being top comment, right?
brilliant.
And what you could do is he may not even actually see it because he's got gatekeepers, he's got people that
Sure.
are doing his social media and all that, right? But they're seeing it.
Yeah.
And let's say you did it every day. And he said, "Hey, Gary, this is video number one. Just wanted to say, hey, you see how many videos it takes to get your attention." The next day, "Hey, Gary, video number
Yep.
two. Love this post, man. I thought it was awesome where you're talking about X, Y, and Z." The next day, "Hey, Gary, video number three. I'm just seeing how long is it going to take? How many
Yeah.
videos does it take to get your attention?" Right? Eventually,
Hmm,
right? You'll
this is
get
great.
somewhere,
Yeah.
right?
This is great. It's all about how can you be different? How can you stand out and putting that just that extra little bit of effort in that other people aren't willing to do. That's exactly it.
And it's
Yeah.
not the one thing about the strategy is it's not really scalable, right? See,
Right.
that's where your AI and all this stuff is scalable, right?
Mm, mhm,
The AI is like, but again, you gotta you gotta put in the work,
yeah.
you gotta put in the work. So
Yeah.
uh there's a lot of little things like that, but yeah, the
Mm,
definition of a standout is doing what other people aren't willing to do.
yeah.
It's going against the grain,
Yes. Which
right?
is a good motto for life in general, right? If you see a bunch of people going one way, go the opposite way.
Yeah.
So
Why would
yeah.
you want to fit in? Why would you want to fit in when you were born to stand out?
Mm,
My whole life, I think about it and I'm like, ah, my whole life I was told like I was damaged good. There was something wrong with me. Like I was a screw up. I got in a lot of trouble, ADD, ADHD. They wanted to put me on
mm,
medication, da 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 da. They were just trying to make me conform and fit
yes.
in. I was not born to fit in. I was born to stand out.
Exactly.
And they were just trying to make me fit.
That's
I don't
exactly it.
fit. I
Yeah.
just don't. I'm different.
Mm.
It's like the kids say nowadays, I'm built different. I'm built different.
For anyone listening, I think to kind of close in that energy, for anyone listening thinking there's something wrong with me, I've been given circumstances that I can't overcome, who's thinking that they're a victim of their environment or that they should just give up. It's like, no, like listen to this interview, go back and listen again and again. I mean, if not for the great, like very tactical, right, marketing and branding tips, which we can all leverage, I'm going to use. I think they're brilliant to remind yourself that everything you've been given in life is literally given for you to alchemize, for you to turn that thing that was once ugly into something beautiful that can then go out and help other people. So this has been so powerful. Tell everyone about, so I know you've got obviously great show they can plug into with the Who You Know show, and we'll tag everything here in the show notes. I know you've got a summit as well, the Career Transition Summit. Would you speak a little bit about that and how people can get connected and involved in that if they want to?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for bringing that up. So,
Yeah.
for anyone that is maybe in corporate America that's looking to level up, or maybe you got let go, you've been laid off. We've had a lot of corporate layoffs because what happens is the market determines a lot of these stock-owned companies, right?
Yeah.
When the stocks are doing great, they're hiring, and when they're not, they're firing. So, um, we see a lot of that. It's big
Mm,
corporate layoffs. And so if you've got found yourself caught up in that, and maybe you're not even working right now and you need to recover your cash flow and get back to your income, that's what this summit is about.
mm,
And so it's an online program. It's about an hour long. And I teach a lot of the strategies. I touched on a couple of them here, but essentially, I want to put the human element back in the job search. It's so dehumanized. You apply online and your resume just goes into the black hole. You don't hear
mm.
anything back. You get automated canned email responses that say thanks but no thanks. No one's talking to you,
Yeah.
right? And you feel this rejection. You feel like, again, what's wrong with me? Why aren't they
Right.
picking me? And you go back and forth with your resume, and you're going crazy. The whole time
Mm,
you're going nuts while you're watching your bankroll go backwards.
yeah. Yeah.
Like, and it's not you, it's just the system. And
Mhm.
they've removed the human element. And so what we need to do is put you back in the game, put the human element back in the game. And that's what I want to show people how to do inside of my Career Transition
Mm.
Summit. So
Amazing. Amazing. So we'll link that in the show notes as well. Um, that's awesome. Thank you so much. This was great. I feel like we covered so much territory, like incredible mindset shifts and really empowering belief systems that we can hold about our life to some really tactical career and business advice that we can apply, whether someone's in corporate or whether they're an entrepreneur. So Trevor, thank you so much. This was great. I loved getting to have you on the show um, and to talk with you today. You're
yeah,
welcome, my friend.
absolutely. And I can't wait for our interview coming very soon.
Yeah.
Okay. We're gonna
Yep.
be get to learn more about you and put you onto my
Mm,
audience. So I'm excited about that. Thank you so much
mm.
for having me here today. It's really been a pleasure and I really appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure, my friend. All right, to you, my listener, we will link all of the goods from Trevor in the show notes. I know and I trust that you are as inspired and motivated to go out and take action as I am following this interview. So, as always, thank you so much for being a member of the She Sells community, and I'll see you on our next episode.